guys, Caitlin here, your marketing and communications coordinator for Bulldog Renovations. And today I'm in a little bit of a different environment. I am riding along with our rehab coordinator, Jennifer, for a day in the life so you guys can see everything that she does and kind of get a little bit behind the scenes. So here is Jennifer. Do you want to kind of give them a rundown on what we're doing today?
Sure. So today we are going to do what we call payday walks. So we will go to 6 different properties. 4 of them are in Middletown and 2 of them are in Dayton. And basically we're checking for progress because our contractors will invoice us every week for the work that they have completed. So we kind of go and do our due diligence and make sure that the work they say they've completed is actually completed. So that's why we call these payday walks. And it usually takes, we're usually out for most of the morning and then back in the office by the afternoon. What I do at each property is I take pictures of each property and then download them into that property's file on the computer so that we have a record of how the progress is going each week.
All right, well, we are going to be pulling up to a property here very shortly, so once we get there you guys will see a little bit more and get some more insight on everything. Until then, see ya.
Here's the drill. This bit is a little bit longer. Because this one I don't really get the name. Okay, so we are in a property that is in what we would call early rehab. So the mechanicals are getting done, the trash out has been done, and the contractor and his crew are kind of just getting in and getting the lay of the land. So not too much work has been done, but once the mechanicals are done, sometimes the cosmetic stuff takes no time at all and is done within weeks or certainly a month. So, it's good. Boarded up. That was not boarded up.
Oh, right.
Open.
Yeah. Yes. That's good. Yeah, good capture.
So this house is a little further along than the last one that we were in. This one I would say is probably 60 to 75% finished, which is great. And I'm standing here in front of this fireplace, and because this will be a rental, we don't want the tenants to have to mess with the fireplace. We don't want them, building fires because it's dirty and it's just a liability. So for our properties that are going to be rental properties, or turnkey as we call them, we always board up the fireplace. So that's what you see here. And we try to make it look nice and neat and clean.
How is the rest of the property? Were there any other issues that need to be addressed?
Not that I can see just by going through and looking. Kitchen looks like it's pretty far along. I would have to check the scope to see. I imagine we're keeping these floors and we're going to refinish them, which is nice because then that saves you, some expense, and it's nice to be able to keep something original from the property like this. So yeah, this one looks to be in really good shape and coming along really well. Glass pump out.
Yeah, that'll look more modern with some of that barn lap wood side paneling on here. It'll just look better.
That would look cool.
70s stuff. Yeah.
Be some touch-up paint, things like that still need to be handled. The nice thing is that our project manager, Steve, will
All right, guys, we are back in the office, so let's go ahead and see what Jennifer is doing now.
Knock, knock. All right, so do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, so while I was out doing the property walks, I took pictures of every property. So then when I come back to the office in the afternoon, what I do is upload basically all of those photos and put them in all the different properties. We have a Dropbox, we call it, for every single property, which is just, you know, part of it in the computer file. So every picture has to go into its correct Dropbox. So that takes a little while. The other thing we do today, because it's Wednesday, so tomorrow on Thursday we will approve the invoices that the contractors have submitted. So the other thing that I'm dealing with on Wednesdays is making sure that any contractor who has sent me an invoice, sometimes they send it to my direct email, sometimes someone actually just text it to me, that gets to the proper place so that they can get paid on Friday when we pay out.
And do you do any kind of preparation for our rehab meetings on Thursdays?
Yes, so the other thing that I'll be doing today is we have what we call a master spreadsheet that has all of our companies' kind of information on the different properties in there, but I'm responsible for updating the Bulldog one. So every day at 3 o'clock, I put in new notes on each property if there's something to update, which usually there is because these rehabs are moving pretty quickly. But today I'll make sure that that's really accurate because we do have a meeting tomorrow that everybody will kind of want to know, you know, what's going on with all of the properties. So all of the information on all of our properties is in the computer, but I'm a little bit old school, so I like my whiteboard. I like being able to look up and keep track of what's going on. So probably not every day if it doesn't warrant it, but certainly several times a week, this thing has to be updated. So I have the crews all on one side, and crews include our contractors and basically all of our vendors, our HVAC guys, our trash out guy, our electrician, the guy who does our glass block windows. The middle, I kind of have stuff that I need to just kind of keep top of mind. When I first got here, the weekly meetings were hard to keep track of, so I wrote all those down. You know, I've talked about the payday walks, I have that in there, and then just kind of trying to keep track of certain things, like what units need cleaning, because that's the next step before we can get pictures and get it marketed. What do we need to walk and scope? What still needs to be assigned to crews? And then actually I have a category now for Caitlin, so I can let her know, you know, when I need to tell her stuff about certain properties. So that just kind of keeps my brain organized. And then on this side, I have all the properties that I'm dealing with and kind of what's going on with them. So some of them are just little bitty things, and like, you know, I can update this. I know this one's finished, so I'm going to take that off the board. You know, this one's finished. You know, these are just punch list things that I needed. And then the same with these two. So I've kind of started to color code things a little bit because I'm a little bit of a geek. You know, I have the dates when they're closing in one color, I have the property, most of the stuff in black, and then I started to make little notes for myself in either green or, like, if I have to take pictures of something, I'm putting that in blue. So a lot of this job is about organization, and there's a lot of moving parts. So I think whatever I have to do to just keep it all in line is what I do.
Now, do you do anything in regards to like preparation for the property? Like, do you fill out any documents or like the scope of work, for example? Do you touch anything like that?
I don't fill out the scope of work, so our project manager is in charge of filling out the scope of work. What I do with that is I can check that if I need to know like what something is budgeted for. You know, what have we budgeted for HVAC for that? And then I can go in and look at that. What have we budgeted for electrician? What have we budgeted for, you know, the roof or something like that? So that's helpful in that regard. But most of that information goes from our project manager directly to the contractor, you know, so they know what they need to do while they're at the property.
How does what you do affect our company as a whole, or even Bulldog Renovations?
So I feel like I'm kind of a liaison, especially in the meetings between between Bulldog and the different parts of our company. You know, they need to know what's going on with the rehabs. Our project manager is often busy out at the properties. You know, he's super busy, has a ton on his plate. So it's nice for me to be able to support that process by keeping everybody in the loop, basically. And you know, communication is something that I'm really good at. So whether it's in the meetings, whether it is during doing our inner office communication, or even sending emails, that's something that I feel is of value to our company, to FREG as a whole, is just to make sure that they are updated on everything that Bulldog is doing. I also communicate externally with the vendors and the contractors, and I mean, sometimes you know, my job takes me in places that I never even thought I would go. You know, I'm handling a task where, you know, I can't even give you an example, but where it's like, okay, this is new today. You know, like I'll get a call from a vendor that says, we think you double paid us on one invoice, but you didn't pay us at all on this other invoice. So that doesn't happen all the time, but it's still something that I need to figure out, because it's not something that I want our project manager to have to figure out. It's certainly not something that I want my boss to have to figure out. So this is stuff that I've been given the responsibility to kind of handle. And I think that that helps just with kind of the flow of the company, and not getting people bogged down with little details that they don't need to have to deal with. I can deal with that kind of stuff. So as I'm wrapping things up for the day, I like to check my inner office email one last time to make sure I haven't missed anything. I like to check my tasks to make sure they're all done for the day. And then I kind of check, I have a little notebook next to my desk that I write things down and kind of jot notes down on every day. So I will check that too. And then I'll actually kind of get ready for the next day by jotting a few things down for the next day that I know I have to do. So I hope you have enjoyed a day in the life of a rehab coordinator. It's always an adventure, I think, and